Welcome back to Birds of a Feather. This is your daily Baltimore sports podcast. My name is Nathan Stroud, and today we've got breaking news. Like within the last 15 minutes, this happened. The Orioles make a trade. I mean, it seemed like the night was kind of winding down. There wasn't going to be any news. The Orioles and really most free agency updates have been pretty, bare bones the past few days. Nothing's really happened. It was only a matter of time until something happened for the Baltimore Orioles, and as we know, they were supposed to be one of the more active teams in free agency this season. We've heard it so many times. I was literally going to record an episode tomorrow talking about some moves that the Orioles could potentially make and everything that we know up until now, but out of nowhere, all of a sudden, the Orioles make a pretty big trade, and it's a one-for-one player swap. The Orioles trade Grayson Rodriguez for outfielder Taylor Ward from the Los Angeles Angels. So Grayson Rodriguez is now an Angel, and Taylor Ward is now an Oriole. And to be honest with you, when I first saw this, I was completely shocked because Grayson Rodriguez was, again, somebody who is a younger pitcher for us. He's a younger guy. He's someone who, in the starts that he's had with the Orioles, he's shown that he can be really good. Obviously, you go back to the playoff game 2 years ago, it was a disaster, but in his regular season starts that he's had, he's been a guy for us. He's been a good player for us, and a younger pitcher. And obviously the main thing with Grayson is the injury thing. He was supposed to be he was potentially going to be our opening day starter last year over Zach Eflin if he was healthy. But Grayson was not healthy at all last year. He dealt with an injury going into training camp, going into spring training. He was dealing with an injury, and then he was going to come back in a couple of weeks. I thought he was going to come back a month or month and a half into the regular season because of that injury. And then he suffered a new injury to his elbow that he had to get cleaned up. And then he had surgery to clean up his elbow, and then he was out for the rest of the season. So Grayson Rodriguez after last season ended, because he also didn't play at the end of last season because he was dealing with an injury as well. So he didn't play at the end of 2024. He got hurt in spring training in 2025. Got hurt on his recovery. He was about to come back last season. We talked about it, he was about to come back last season, dealt with another injury, and then he was out all of last season. So he has not played baseball in a pretty long time. It's been over a full season since he's played, last pitched for the Orioles. And obviously it was annoying, but he's still a young pitcher, and he's still someone who had potential, down the line, if he could get the injuries just kind of, cleaned up, things could be looking good. But the Orioles end up trading him for Taylor Ward, and I'm not mad at this at all, to be honest with you guys. I'm not mad at this at all. The injury reports and the medicals just must be garbage with Grayson then, because I don't think that they would have traded Grayson if they didn't think that his future was going to be pretty heavily affected by these injuries. So in my opinion, this is kind of a win-win deal. The Angels are kind of looking for a younger pitcher, just a younger pitcher to kind of add to their staff. And Grayson Rodriguez can be that guy for them. If he's healthy, he can be good. So the Angels get a younger pitcher for the future for them, and the Orioles end up getting a 31-year-old power-hitting outfielder, which is kind of something that they were looking for. There was rumors and reports that we might be going after Kyle Tucker, Cody Bellinger, someone like that, but it does not look like the Orioles are going to be going after an outfielder anymore. They also signed Leody Taveras, at the very start of free agency, kind of under the rug thing. Nobody really talked about. I didn't even really talk about it, but getting Taylor Ward is a big deal. We're going to go over kind of, Grayson's stats as he was leaving the Orioles. And we're also going to be going over what Taylor Ward has done for the Angels, because this is a very interesting trade. It's a very interesting trade, very weird trade, very out of nowhere. I had a feeling that Grayson could potentially be in a trade, but I didn't think it was going to come this early. Everyone's kind of waiting on new players to sign with new teams, because they're the qualifying offer stuff was happening today, and some guys re-signed back with their teams. But what this trade tells me is that, one, the Orioles are no longer going to be going after a Kyle Tucker or Cody Bellinger, if they were even in the market realistically for those guys. There was people, some guys talking about the fact that the Orioles could potentially be in the mix for Kyle Tucker because Mike Elias drafted him with the Astros, and they had that connection, whatever. But what this trade tells me is that they're not going to be going after that power hitting, outfielder anymore. They just went out and got one in Taylor Ward, who doesn't have a high average. Like last season, didn't have a high average, but he did have like 103 RBIs and 36 home runs, which would have been far and away first place on the Orioles in both categories, just because the Orioles hitting this year wasn't like there wasn't one guy who was above the rest, and Taylor Ward had a good year. So another thing is that Taylor Ward, and we'll go over what Jeff Passan said, but trade news: Taylor Ward is going to Baltimore and Grayson Rodriguez to the Angels. The Orioles get a power hitting outfielder they've been seeking, and the Angels get back a young arm. Quite a trade. Again, this is a very kind of a win-win for both teams, and we'll kind of have to see how things go, next season, if Grayson can be healthy or not, because the big thing is if Grayson can stay healthy, which the Orioles trading him means that they just don't feel confident in him moving forward, and he was kind of an outlier in the pitching staff, because if he was healthy, he would have been on this pitching staff 100%. Like, he would have been on the pitching staff, he would have had a solid role if he was healthy, but again, he kind of was just like an outlier because he just was never really healthy, and it just wasn't very consistent with him. I think he had 43 total starts for the Orioles in his time here. And again, the injuries is the biggest thing. That's why they made this trade. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Taylor Ward, because Taylor Ward is says Taylor Ward is a free agent after the 2026 season. Baltimore, which has been looking for pitching, gave up a 26-year-old in Grayson Rodriguez, who isn't a free agent until after 2029. He has also missed all of the 2025 season with arm issues and is coming off of an elbow cleanup. And what this right here tells me, first of all, again, the Orioles pitching staff and starting pitching staff is weak. You have Trevor Rogers, who's incredible. You have Kyle Bradish when he's healthy, who's incredible. But other than that, you don't really have anyone at all that you can really trust. And their bullpen's also been an issue. So it might come as a surprise that we're giving up a young starting pitcher who has kind of proven himself when he's been out there. It does come as a shock a little bit. But what this tells me, and kind of what I was saying earlier, we're not going to be in the market for an outfielder anymore. I don't even know if the Orioles are going to go out and really sign any more notable hitters anymore. I think Taylor Ward is obviously going to be an everyday outfielder for the Orioles this season, and I think that this might fully replace Tyler O'Neill. I don't know. Because Tyler O'Neill also has been someone who's dealt with a ton of injuries and stuff. And again, the big thing is Taylor Ward is going to be free agent after this year. Do I think he's going to resign? I don't know. Maybe. If he ends up having a really good season here, maybe we can grow a connection and he can stay here. I'm excited for Taylor Ward to be an Oriole. I think that he can be a great power-hitting addition to this lineup that really needed some power after last year. And again, Taylor Ward isn't like the Kyle Tuckers of the world or the Cody Bellingers of the world, but he had a very solid year. 36 home runs, 103 RBIs, a lower average, but still was a power hitter, which is what they needed after last season. And hopefully Gunnar can go back to his power hitting ways. Hopefully Jackson can keep getting better. Hopefully Colton can stay healthy, because we know he can be a power hitter. Same with Jordan. Guys like this Basayo, even in his first full rookie year, we know he can hit the hell out of the baseball. So I like this for the Orioles. I like this for the fact that our outfield, obviously with Dylan Beavers, Colton Cowser, and now you're getting Taylor Ward, which is fine. It does kind of tell me that they are sort of, in a way, maybe giving up on Tyler O'Neill. He's going to have a role. He's going to be a rotational guy, but I just don't think that Tyler, again, he had a very disappointing year last year, was hurt for a majority of the season, but we understood that injury was a big thing with him. But getting Taylor Ward is a very big deal. But what this tells me is that with the Orioles giving up one of their young pitchers in Grayson Rodriguez, right? With them giving up one of their young pitchers in Grayson Rodriguez, it really does kind of tell me that they are really going to go out there and make a splash in the starting pitcher market. If they're willing to give up Grayson Rodriguez, who, when he's played for you, he's been solid. He's not a free agent for another 3-4 years. For me, if they're willing to give him up for a power-hitting outfielder for this season, which they need, again, a guy on a one-year deal, this is a win-now move. That's what this is. This, take it how it is. This is kind of a win-now move for next season. And again, what this tells me is that they're going to go out there and make a splash on the starting pitching market. If they're willing to give up Grayson, I think that this means that they're going to go out there and get one of the top-end guys in the starting pitching market. They might get more than one as well. Because I was expecting, like, if we made no moves in the starting pitching market, and you look at the starting pitchers we had right now, with Grayson healthy, if he was still here, it would be Rogers, Bradish, Grayson, Dean, and then either Taylor, like Wells, or potentially Povich. But now that Grayson is gone, it kind of takes another name out of that hat of like starting pitchers. So I think that the Orioles will definitely go after one of the top free agents, and I think that they're confident in that. I don't think that they would make this move if they weren't confident that they were not going to land one of the top guys in free agency for starting pitching. And when I say top guys, I mean Framber Valdez, Ranger Suarez, I was going to say Shota Imanaga, but he's gone. Tetsuya Mai, even, like, I don't think he's going to come here, but, I mean, it's a possibility. But again, like, Framber Valdez, Ranger Suarez, Dylan Cease, even Michael King. Michael King I don't really consider on the same tier, obviously, as, like, Suarez, Valdez, and Cease. But I think that the Orioles are really going to go after one of either Framber, Dylan Cease, or Ranger Suarez. I think that they're going to get one of those three guys. I think they're going to be extremely aggressive with pitching, and I think that this trade kind of sends a message and kind of tells the Orioles fans and just baseball fans in general that Mike Elias is confident in the fact that he's going to land one of these top pitchers because, again, we'll look back at this in a couple months once free agency is kind of starting to wrap up. But if the Orioles don't sign a top-end starting pitcher after they're trading Grayson for a power-hitting outfielder in a win-now move, I will have I'll be actually surprised, because this trade to me just signals that they are confident that they're going to land one of the top guys, and if they do land one of the top guys, then this trade obviously makes a ton of sense. But we're going to have to see what they end up doing. Obviously, I think a lot of people don't have a lot of trust in the Orioles organization, which I don't either. But the fact that they make a trade like this, I think that this is a sign of good things to come with the Orioles and the starting pitching market. I think that they could potentially even pick up two guys in the starting pitching market. And then also, some bullpen guys and like one of the good closers available. I think this is going to be an active offseason for the Orioles. And I do think that they wanted to get like a power hitting guy. I think they got it in Taylor Ward right here, and I think that all of the money in free agency is going to be fully focused on pitching, and they might make like a pitching sweep. I mean, hey, if they go out there and do very underwhelming things, y'all can go back to this and clown me if you want, but this trade to me really does signal that they are going to go all in on pitching, whether it has to be one of the top guys. They have to go out there and get one of the top guys available. They could potentially go get two arms now that this trade is done, like one of the top guys and one of the medium guys, or maybe two of the top guys if they're really feeling that dangerous. And then I could definitely also see them going out there and obviously fixing up the bullpen a little bit, which they've already started to do with getting Kittredge back and Dentridge Ends back. But getting the bullpen fixed, and then again, starting pitcher market and a closing pitcher, like a true closing pitcher, now that I don't think Felix Bautista is ever going to play for us again, so we can kind of just, like, that ship has kind of sailed. We're kind of just now focused on the future and getting a new, solid, like, good closer available. But the starting pitching market is the biggest thing, and this opens it up even more of how aggressive the Orioles are possibly going to be in this market. I think that this means they're going to go after a good starting pitcher. Like, I just don't see how this trade doesn't resemble them going and getting one of the top guys available. I just don't see how it wouldn't add up. You know what I'm saying? It kind of feels obvious that they're confident in getting one of the starting pitchers. That's why they made this move. If they're willing to move off of Grayson Rodriguez, who's one of their young pitchers for the future, who's had injury problems, but if they're willing to do that, it has to mean that they're confident in getting one of the top guys available. Like, I just don't see it. Like, I see a world where it doesn't happen because we've lived through this before, because, again, the Orioles are the Orioles, and we've seen them do so many disappointing things before when it comes to free agency. But I applaud Mike Elias for going out there and really making a move and really kind of setting a tone in a way for the Orioles. And like, hey, we're going to go out here, make a very, decently big trade. We're going to kind of set the tone here. And we're going to be aggressive this offseason. This is just kind of a good sign of things to come. Like, there's more to come with this. And I'm hoping that that is the case because I do not mind this trade at all the more that I think about it. I do want to go over and kind of talk about Grayson Rodriguez real quick. Because, again, he was on he really only pitched for the Orioles in 2023 and 2024. 2023, he had 23 total starts, had a 4.35 ERA, was not looking great. But going back to 2 years ago in 2024, in the season of 2024, he had a solid year. He had 20 starts that season. So again, 23 starts and 20 starts. Neither of those were full seasons, and in 2024 he got injured near the end of the year, and he was also injured at the beginning of the year. So he only had 20 total starts in 2024, but he went 13-4 in those 20 starts, which is an incredible record. He had a 3.86 ERA with 130 strikeouts and 116 innings. So he is a strikeout guy. We understand how good of a player he is. But what I do now want to go over, because I feel like I haven't talked about this guy enough, is Taylor Ward. I want to go over and talk about Taylor Ward because he is now an Oriole, and I do want to talk about this because obviously it's kind of a big deal. I mean, he's an Oriole now. We're going to talk about him because it is exciting. He had a very solid year last year. He was top 10 in home runs. He was top 11 in RBIs, a 792 OPS, a 228 average, so his average was on the lower end. But again, this guy's he's a power hitter. That's what he is. 31 years old, been on the Angels his entire career. Definitely is coming off of the best season of his career, 100%. He had 36 home runs, played pretty much the entire season in 2025, so didn't really have any injury problems. 36 home runs in 2025. He had 25 home runs in 2024. If you go throughout his averages, his average did go down quite a lot this year, and his strikeouts are pretty high, 175 strikeouts in 579 at-bats. So his strikeouts are a little bit high, but again, he is a power hitter. Power hitters are going to strike out a lot, like an average power hitter is going to strike out a lot and be a low average guy, but he's a power hitter, and that's what the Orioles needed. They needed pop in their lineup. Coming off of the best season of his career for sure. He had 36 home runs, 103 RBIs, 75 walks, 132 hits, a 228 average, a 317 on base percentage, a 475 slug. Not a bad year at all. 2024, he had a solid year as well. He had a 250 average with 25 home runs. So he's been pretty healthy. He's stayed healthy throughout his career, and he's now an Oriole. And he does only have 1 year left on his deal. So this, in a way, is kind of a rental win-now move just to get some pop in your bat. But the fact that, again, they traded Grayson Rodriguez means that the injuries to him were enough to trade him. And I think getting Taylor Ward, even though he only has 1 year left on his deal, I think it can still be good. I think if we can end up re-signing Taylor Ward, if he has a good year this year and he grows a connection with the city and stuff like that, I think it would be really good. But I think getting some pop in your bat from a guy who has been pretty healthy over the past couple of years and just someone who is an outfielder that just has pop, which is what we needed, is good. I don't mind this at all. I'm super excited. The same for the Orioles next year. I think he could be a big part of our team. I really do think he could be a big part of our team, and I think that he can just kind of bring a little bit of veteran experience as well. He's 31 years old. He is really the oldest guy on the everyday the everyday lineup, because he's going to be an everyday outfielder. I would think he's going to be an everyday outfielder, and if I had to predict the outfield on opening day if everyone's healthy, I would say Taylor Ward in left, Colton Cowser in center, and then probably Dylan Beavers in right, I would think. I don't think that Tyler O'Neill is going to be an every single day guy anymore. I just don't think it. Obviously them getting Taylor means that that's not going to happen, and I think that they would play Taylor Ward over Tyler O'Neill just based on Tyler O'Neill's injury history and last season. But we'll see what ends up happening. I do like this for the Orioles a lot. Not a lot. I'm not going to sit here and say like we fleeced the Angels, because I don't think that we did. it seems a little bit fair. A 26-year-old pitcher who is dealing with a lot of injuries, coming off of a season where he didn't pitch once all last year. He's young. They have control over him for the next few years, which is important in baseball. But the Orioles just were not confident in his injury, like in his medicals and stuff like that, which is kind of obvious. Just not confident in his medicals, not confident in stuff like that. So, and we're trading him for a guy who had the best year of his career last season, had 36 home runs, 103 RBIs, low average guy, pop hitter, an outfielder, like a power hitting outfielder, which is what we were looking for, or part of what we were looking for. Obviously, starting pitching is the other thing of that. But again, Grayson's medicals had to be really bad for them to make this trade. But getting Taylor Ward on a rental potentially, we'll see what ends up happening if he resigns or not. But getting Taylor Ward, I don't mind this at all. I do not mind this at all. And these are the official MLB graphics of the trades with, as you can see, Grayson here on the move with the Angels. You see Taylor Ward here on the move with the Orioles. And the more that I think about it, just again, this is a live reaction to this because it happened 15 minutes. It happened 15 minutes ago from the start of this episode, and I just didn't really know what to think, and I just recorded an episode and kind of talking about my feelings on the trade and instant reactions right now. This is literally the instant reactions. I didn't even really say anything on Twitter. I kind of posted that I'm recording an episode right now real quick, and here we are. But what I will say about Grayson, because I know a lot of Orioles fans do love Grayson, and so do I. I mean, he really did give promise in the younger pitching thing, you know what I mean? You go back to 2023, he was the Game 2 starter in the playoffs. You had Kyle Bradish as the Game 1 starter. You had Grayson as the Game 2 starter. And both those guys obviously are young. You had potential. You had kind of the thought that Grayson was going to be one of the guys in the future if he stayed healthy. But he's just dealt with a ton of injuries, man. I mean, he dealt with injuries in 2023 in his first year getting called up. Dealt with injuries at the beginning of 2024, dealt with injuries at the end of 2024, dealt with injuries in spring training, and then dealt with injuries when he was about to come back. Because he was going to come back last year. I don't remember the timeline. I think it was a month or a month and a half into the season. But he was going to come back for the Orioles last year. He was going to be a part of this pitching staff. He was going to be a part of it. And then he re-injured something in his elbow, got his elbow cleaned up, and just was out the remainder of the season. So again, there was just no... he didn't play all of last year, dealt with injuries the previous 2 years, so obviously his value is kind of declining. And from an Angels fan's perspective, if they're thinking about this trade, in their minds, they're just hoping that Grayson can stay healthy for them, because if he's healthy, he's a big strikeout guy. He's someone who can really pile up strikeouts and can be a solid pitcher when he's healthy. But Grayson, in the young career that he's had, has already shown that he is a very injury-prone player. And I think that when you're a very injury-prone player early on in your career, in baseball especially, I think it does carry over throughout the rest of your career, and it is just something to monitor. And Mike Elias at the winter meeting, at the GM meetings last week, I saw an article earlier last week that was they were asking about Grayson and how we would fit in this rotation with him being out the full year. How would he come back? Where would he be? And Mike Elias said that he was kind of a wild card in the rotation. He said he was a wild card in the rotation, and he said that and again, when you say that someone's a wild card in the rotation, obviously there was not a lot of confidence from Mike Elias that he was going to even be viable for them. The injury, the medicals, the injury stuff, the deeper statistics and analytics of everything regarding the injury must have not been good. And for them to trade Grayson Rodriguez, who kind of feels like he has a noodle arm and just a super injury-prone player early on in his career, for them to go out and get a guy who had a very solid power hitting season. I mean, he was top 10 in the league in home runs, top 10 in the league in RBIs. I understand that his average was lower. I understand that his OPS wasn't incredible, but you're not gonna get something out of this world for Grayson Rodriguez, because there is obviously a ton of injury concerns. And Taylor Ward, who is a free agent after this next season, I mean, it makes sense. The Angels are going out here and just taking a gamble on Grayson Rodriguez, and if it works, then it works really well for them, and if it doesn't, then it doesn't. It's not like they gave up a ton for him. Taylor Ward, he had a good year. I mean, he had 36 home runs, he had 103 RBIs. His average was lower and stuff like that, but they're trading someone who just had the best year of their career that's on an expiring contract after this season, and they traded him for a guy who, if he stays healthy, can be a really good arm for them moving forward. So the Angels are taking a gamble with this. I respect it. I understand it. I don't think that it's a bad trade at all for either team. Obviously, the Orioles are kind of in a win-now mode, and I think that Grayson Rodriguez, given his injury history, I just don't think that they have... Like, if he's not going to play, you know what I mean? If he's going to be injured, and if he's going to, like... If we're going to have Grayson a part of this pitching staff, and he's going to be someone who's going to be hurt a lot, and just like the potential to be hurt a lot, and just like the scare to be injured, and again, he's like throughout his young career, he's already dealt with so many injuries early in like the first 2 to 3 years of his career. So that's not really a good sign of things moving forward for him. And Taylor Ward, who is coming off of a career year, someone who's going to be free agent after this season, the Angels aren't in a position right now to go out there and they're not in any sort of urgency to go win right now. So getting rid of one of your like better bats and better power hitters for like a younger pitcher who can be a part of your staff and be a good part of your staff like later on down the future, like it makes sense, it makes sense for them to do this. I understand it. And from the Orioles side of things, you trade a young pitcher who's dealt with a ton of injuries. You trade him for a power hitting. Again, I'm going to emphasize it again. A power hitting, because that's what he is. A power hitting outfielder, which is what they were kind of in the market for. Now, again, it does raise the question with Tyler O'Neill. What's going to go on with Tyler O'Neill? Like, is he going to be even an everyday guy? Are they going to kind of do like platoon bats where they're kind of going to lean into matchups like they always like to do? Or is Taylor Ward going to be an everyday outfielder? I think that he should be. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think that if we can trade Tyler O'Neill, I think that we should go do it. I think that the Orioles don't want to have guys on the roster that are injury riddled. You know what I mean? Like guys that are going to play important positions for you, like a part of your starting pitching staff or, being an everyday outfielder. I just don't think that they want injury-riddled players. I think that they are in a win-now scenario. Like the Orioles obviously want to capitalize off this young talent. You get a new manager in Craig Albanez who kind of wants to push the gas pedal and really move forward and really just go out there and make moves. So the Angels are taking a gamble with this trade with Grayson Rodriguez, trading a guy who had a good year on an expiring contract. Again, they're not in it makes sense for them, and for the Orioles it makes sense because they were looking for a power-hitting outfielder. They needed power hitting last season. They go and get it with this trade. They trade away a younger pitcher, so their pitching staff, like their starting pitching staff in general, does get worse. But this does kind of set up the question and set up the opportunity for them to be extremely aggressive in the starting pitching market, which they were already rumored to do. They were already heavily rumored and heavily expected to be interested in the top end starting pitcher market, so this just opens up that even more, and I do think that this now gives the Orioles the opportunity to actually really be aggressive in the top end starting pitcher market. So you can kind of evaluate this trade after going into the season, looking at the roster, because if the Orioles go out there and get a Dylan Cease or a Framber Valdez or a Ranger Suarez to pair with Rogers and Bradish, and maybe go out there and get another mid-level starting pitcher, and then go out there and maybe obviously fix up the bullpen and get a true solid closer, getting one or two good starting pitcher arms and getting one of the good, solid, true closing pitchers available. That is their wish list now. Their power hitting outfielder is done. You did it via trade. You didn't even have to go out there and sign him and give him this long-term contract. Now you can kind of focus your money on purely the pitching, the close, getting the closer, getting a top end starter, and maybe another mid-level starter for the back end of the rotation. And then getting a couple of names to fill up that bullpen, which they've already kind of done via trade, getting back Andrew Kittredge, re-signing Dentrich Jens and stuff like that. So I like this for the Orioles. It kind of checks a box that they had without having to go actually out there and spend money on someone, and it now gives them all of the reins and all of the reason to only spend their money on pitching and to go after one of the big dogs in the starting pitching market. So I do like this trade for the Orioles. Thank you, Grayson, for all that you did for the Orioles. Again, very injury-riddled. It's unfortunate. You don't want to obviously see injuries happen, and I wish that Grayson would have worked out because he really did give the Orioles a spark when he was out there, but I mean, he's an injury-riddled player. The medicals must have looked really bad, and for them to go out there and trade for a solid, very solid power-hitting outfielder who had a really good year last year, I don't mind it at all. I don't mind it at all. Again, this is a rental. That's the big thing, is that Grayson still has like 4 years left to control. Taylor Ward's a free agent after this year, but we'll see what ends up happening. I don't mind this for the Orioles at all. But they do, with this trade happening now, this means that they have to go out there and get one of the top guys in free agency starting pitcher-wise, and they need to be all over pitching. Because them making this trade means that they have to go do that now, which I'm confident in. We'll see what ends up happening, but I don't mind this at all. But thank you guys so much for tuning into and listening to this episode of Birds of a Feather. This is very much out of nowhere. I was going to have an episode up tomorrow talking about what the Orioles should do, and just any sort of stuff that we know about like the Orioles so far regarding the free agency. But I don't think I have to make that anymore, because one of the things that I was really going to talk about was them getting a power-hitting outfielder, and they just did it. So they checked off that box. It means that they have all of the money and all the attention can go into the pitching, more importantly, the starting pitching market. So I really do believe this is a sign of good things to come. I like the deal for the Angels. You know, I understand it. I understand them going out and gambling for someone like this. I think he can be, like, if Grayson's healthy, he's going to be a good pitcher for them. And I hope him all the best, wish him all the best, hope he's good. But at the same time, I do think that the Orioles being able to get someone like Taylor Ward, who is coming off a very good year for someone who's very injury-riddled, I do like this for the Orioles as well. I don't, again, I like this trade. I'm not mad at it. I'm not, freaking out about it, but I don't mind it at all. I think that this makes the Orioles line up better, and I don't think that it necessarily makes the starting pitching worse, because we don't really know what the starting pitching is going to look like for the Orioles in 2026, because there still is obviously all of the top free agent starting pitchers available. So this trade will look either better or worse once we see what the starting pitching rotation is going to look like going into the season. So we can kind of look back on this trade after free agency is over and as like spring training begins, because if the Orioles go out there and get one of the top guys, get another mid-tier guy, you know, get a closing pitcher and do everything they want to do on their wish list, because their wish list, their number one priority is still starting pitcher. You know what I mean? Like, power hitting outfielder was like number 2 or 3 on the wish list. This was like starting pitching, like top end guy was number 1 on the wish list, and this opens up that move even more for them to be even more aggressive and just having the confidence to go out there and make that move. So we'll look back at this trade in a few months, and it'll either look better or it'll look bad. You know what I mean? If they go out there and once again don't be aggressive, which to me is like crazy. Like, I don't after this move, I don't understand why they wouldn't be aggressive anymore after this move. I was already kind of confident in them before. Now I'm even more confident in them going out there making that big splash is what they need. So I'm excited for that. We'll see what ends up happening. Obviously, for agency stuff in the MLB just pops up randomly. So we might have a lot of random Orioles free agency news, and I do think that the Orioles are going to be very active in free agency, so we're going to be able to do a lot of Orioles content over the next few months, alongside everything regarding the Ravens. Tomorrow, obviously, with the Ravens, we are going to be going over practice reports and stuff like that, because tomorrow officially starts Jets week, playing the Jets this Sunday, obviously, which we'll go over that there. But I'll see you guys tomorrow. You have a great Steelers night. Go O's, go Ravens. I'll see y'all later. Very random episode. Make sure to follow the Twitter. Make sure to follow the Instagram on the screen if you see it. And if you are listening on Spotify, make sure to click the link in the bio to check out the Twitter and the Instagram. Also, make sure to subscribe to YouTube, follow up on the Spotify. I appreciate all of you guys. Very random episode, but again, I appreciate anyone that listens to this. I'll see you guys in the next one. You have a great sales night. Go O's, go Ravens, and I'll see y'all later. Peace out.